Well, here we are, 1826, the University of Virginia. I've enrolled in 2 classes, Ancient and Medieval History. These 2 cost nearly $60. And on top of that, the rent for this room was $15 a semester, with $12 more for the bed and another $10 for this desk and chair. So this is my home. This room. Number 13 West Range. I only have class from 7 until 9:30 each morning, so I have ample free time to read, to write, and to indulge my interests. And just having turned 20, I am already a poet, if deep worship of all beauty can make me one, and I wish to be seen as one in the outside world. I would give the world to embody 1/2 the ideas afloat in my imagination. And this university, conceived by Thomas Jefferson to develop the reasoning faculties of our youth and cultivate their morals, is absolutely the most decadent college in America. It is plagued with scholastic anarchy and wild student escapades filled with excessive drinking and gambling. Of these, I myself have partaken in a few. But a classroom and library can never fully meet the requirements of my quiet and reflective mind. I love the solitude of long and lonesome walks in the mountains, where I imagine myself having to rely upon my wit during encounters with the gods and the forces of nature, just like the young Odysseus.
Helen, thy beauty is to me like those Nicean barks of yore, that gently o'er a perfumed sea the weary, way-worn wanderer bore to his own native shore. On desperate seas, long wont to roam, thy hyacinth hair, thy classic face, thy naiad airs have brought me home to the glory that was Greece, and the grandeur that was Rome. Ah, what songs the sirens sang!
From these long walks, or rather on them, I found material for weird tales, which I would then write out and read to some of my classmates. My little room here at West Range was often filled with a small, select audience of my most particular friends, who, spellbound, scarcely breathed while they eagerly listened to the strange and wild stories I had written. Now loud and rapid like the mad rush of many waters, then sinking into scarcely audible whispers of some terrible incantation or curse, sending a shiver over all that listened. Often, as I became deeply engrossed in performing these productions, a sudden change would come over me. I would, with a piece of charcoal, begin sketching out the story on the walls of my room. Whimsical, fanciful, and grotesque figures, with so much artistic skill as to leave them in doubt as to whether the Poe of future would be a painter or a poet. To calm and quiet the excessive nervous excitability under which I labored, I often put myself under the influence of the invisible spirit of wine, imagining it to be the very wine served to Marco Polo in the court of the great Kublai Khan. Yet another place and time I would surely like to have been born into. The travels on the Silk Road, the palaces and intrigue, the beautifully adorned women at court, and a long sea voyage with the exotic princess, Kokachin. thou timid one, do not let thy form slumber within these unhallowed walls. For herein lies the ghost of an awful time. No one here really knows me. I do not associate with many students, except those who are in a similar situation. They from drunkenness and extravagance, I, because it was my crime to have no one on earth who cared for me, or who loved me. On this cold December night, and my fire having nearly gone out, that William, my only real friend at the university, came to see me. By the aid of some candles, I spent a very pleasant hour with William as I totaled up my debts and the money I had wasted during the term. I estimated my indebtedness at nearly $2,000, and even though many of them were gambling debts, I was determined that I would repay every cent of them. After 3 months here in Virginia, with no replies from any of my letters to my fiancée back home, and with no money to continue my education, it was time to give up on this life, and perhaps on love. I will further my creative ambitions abroad in the land of my grandparents, the Emerald Isle. I am off to Ireland. And all my days are trances, and all my nightly dreams are where thy dark eye glances, and where thy footstep gleams.
In what ethereal dances, by what eternal streams.
Lenore, when I saw you, when I touched your gentle hand, when I heard your soft voice, I suffered my imagination to stray with you, and with the few who love us both, to the banks of some quiet river, in some lonely valley of this lovely Ireland. Here, not too far secluded from the world, we'll build for ourselves a cottage which no human being could ever pass without a shout of wonder at its strange, weird, and incomprehensible,
yet most simply, beauty. I am calm and tranquil, and but for a strange shadow of coming darkness which haunts me, I should be happy. That I am not supremely happy, even when I feel your dear love at my heart scares me. What can this mean?
Perhaps this is only the inevitable reaction, after such delightful pleasures, to the wanderings of our souls.
'Twas noontide of summer, and mid-time of night, and stars, their orbits shone pale through the light. So sweet the hour, so calm the time, I feel it more than half a crime when nature sleeps and stars are mute, to mar the silence even with a lute. But list, oh list, so soft and low thy lover's voice tonight shall flow, that, scarce awake, thy soul shall deem my words the music of a dream.
How am I to answer you about my impending departure? Have I not been honest with you? But I have heard the more than melody of your voice, and my heart ceased to throb beneath the magic of your smile. Have I not held your hand in mine and looked steadily into your soul through the crystal heaven of your eyes? I have done all these things. Or am I mad? Or was it just a dream? If my peace hath flown away, in a night or in a day, in a vision or in none, is it therefore the less gone? I appeal to you as a man that loves the same beauty that you adore, the beauty of the natural blue sky and the sunshiny earth. There is no stronger bond than that of lovers. Our affections run in the same direction, the same channel. They cannot help mingling. I am standing here amid the roar of this weather-beaten shore, and I hold within my hands some particles of sand.
How few, and how they creep through my fingers to the deep. I'm sorry, Edgar. Truly. I cannot go with you.
Lenore, please. Will I never see you again?
No. Nevermore.
My early hopes? No. They went gloriously away, like lightning from the sky, and at once, so will I.
From childhood's hour, I have not been as others were. I have not seen as others saw. I could not bring my passions from a common spring. From the same source I have not taken my sorrow. I could not awaken my heart to joy at the same tone, and all I loved alone.
To my dearest Lenore, as I boarded the ship for America, a profound sympathy took immediate possession of my soul. From the moment I met you, I loved you. I cannot better explain to you what I felt than by saying that your unknown heart seemed to pass into my bosom, there to dwell forever, while mine, I thought, was translated into your own. You saw, you felt the agony of grief with which I bade you farewell. You remember my expression of gloom. And as I departed, a dreadful, horrible foreboding overtook me. When I arrived back in Baltimore, I went to bed and wept through a long, long, hideous night of despair. When the day broke, I arose and endeavored to quiet my mind by a rapid walk in the cold, keen air. But the demon tormented me still, and it became an inspiration for my poetry. The poem which I enclose, and which I am so vain as to hope you will like, will be published in the morning newspaper. It does not pay well, and whatever I write I am surely consigning to the tomb of the Capulets. Truly yours, Edgar. Fused in the fire of my mortal soul, this is a superb portrayal of tragic mystery, of shadowed beauty, and awful sorrow. It is a marvelous mingling of fire and music, of passion and despair. The final lament to the memory of my love, whom I now imagine to live immortally young in a somber palace of song. I am haunted by her nevermore. Nevermore. The voice of my raven, my tormentor and demon, the lost Lenore.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as if someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, rapping at my chamber door. "Only this and nothing more."
As to the raven, let me tell you what I shall say about it. There is a fantasticalness about it which is ludicrous, and there is a certain insanity that arises from an author that is singularly sensitive to outside influences. Poe, I am afraid, is wholly lacking in that element of manhood which, for want of a better name, we call character. It is something quite distinct from genius, though all great geniuses are endowed with it. Hence, we always think of the genius of Dante, of Michelangelo, of Shakespeare, while of such a man as Poe, we will merely think of him as the author of this or that. Insult upon insult has been heaped upon my name. Now is the time to strike. To delay, after all, will do me injury. I will yield nothing to this critic Fortunato, nor to the power of his position at the newspaper. I shall make war to the death against his assertion of my lack of character and of the ludicrous quality of my writings. I will set about on a course of revenge for the insult he has hurled, for no one provokes me with impunity. Above all things, I am eager to write something new, something grander. This new story will show how demons do take advantage of the night. So beware these demons of man, as we descend into the crypt in search of a rare wine. Yes, the Cask of Amontillado.
Up against this new wall, I stacked up the old bones for half a century. No mortal has disturbed them. Rest in peace.
To write? To scribble? Nonsense, and no more. I will not write upon this argument. To write is human, not to write, divine.